Practice Test 6. Part 6. Question 61. The required working clearance for access to live parts operating at 300 volts nominal to ground, where there are exposed live parts on one side and a concrete wall on the other side is 3.5 feet according to the electrical code. Access to live parts at 300 volts to ground, exposed live parts on one side, a concrete wall on other side. 3.5 feet working clearance according to code. Live parts, 300 volts to ground, exposed live parts one side, concrete wall other side. 3.5 feet work clearance. Question 62. Electrical installations over 600 volts located in all the above. A room or closet. A vault or an area surrounded by a screen, fence or wall. Where access is controlled by lock and key or other approved means. Shall be considered to accessible to qualified persons only. Electrical installations over 600 volts, located in all the above. Room, closet. Vault or area surrounded by screen, fence or wall. Access under lock and key, etc. All considered to be accessible to qualified persons only. Electrical installations over 600 volts, located in all above. Room, closet. Vault or area surrounded by screen, fence or wall. Access under lock and key, etc. All considered to be accessible to qualified persons only. Question 63. When live parts of electrical equipment are guarded by the suitable permanent, substantial partitions or screens, any openings in such partitions or screens shall be sized and located that persons are not probably going to come in accidental contact with the live parts or to bring conducting objects into contact with them. Live parts of electrical equipment are guarded by suitable permanent, substantial partitions or screens. Any openings shall be sized and located someone not to come in accidental contact with live parts or bring conducting objects into contact with them. Guarded live parts with permanent partitions or screens will not have openings that allow someone to come into accidental contact or bring conductive objects into contact with live parts. Question 64. The test of insulation on electrical cable is thermoplastic. Thermoplastic is the test of insulation on electrical cable is. Test of insulation on electrical cable, thermoplastic. Question 65. If you have 480 volt transformer with a bond, which is the best answer? Bond to ground with neutral. 480 volt transformer with a bond to ground with neutral. 480 volt transformer with a bond to ground with neutral. Question 66. In putting together an estimate for a church with a 400 seat capacity, you are requested to keep the cost down. Which of the following is the cheapest wiring that can be installed in a church? AC wiring, cheapest wire for a church. Making estimate for a church with 400 seat capacity, requested to keep the cost down. Cheapest wiring that can be installed in a church is AC wiring. Cheapest wire for a church. Making church estimate, 400 capacity, low cost requested. AC wiring, cheapest wire for church. Question 67. At what location can you have two power sources? At the service panel you can have two power sources. At the service panel you may have two power sources. Service panel can have two sources of power. Question 68. Each run of cable tray shall be completed prior to the installation of cables. Complete each run of cable tray prior to the installation of cables. Before installing cables, complete each run of cable tray. Question 69. Steel or aluminum cable tray systems can be used as equipment grounding conductors if the cable tray sections and fittings have been legibly and durably marked to show the cross-sectional area of metal in the channel cable trays or cable trays of one-piece construction. Steel or aluminum cable tray systems can be used as grounding conductors if cable tray sections and fittings are legibly, durably marked to show cross-sectional area of metal in the channel cable trays or cable trays of one-piece construction. Steel or aluminum cable tray systems and fittings can be used as a ground if durably and legibly marked showing cross-section area of metal in channel cable trays or one-piece construction cable tray. Question 70. For the ampacity of cables, rated 2000 volts or less in cable trays, the derating factors of the notes to ampacity tables of 0 to 2000 volts shall not apply to multi-conductor cables with more than 3 current carrying conductors. Ampacity of cables, rated 2000 volts or less in cable trays, derating factors of notes to ampacity tables, 0 to 2000 volts, not applied to multi-conductor cables with over 3 current carrying conductors. Cable ampacity, 2000 volts or less in cable trays, derating factors of notes to ampacity tables, not applied to multi-conductor cables with over 3 current carrying conductors.